What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna try to get the EJ ready to go back in the car. Tonight I only have a couple hours, so we'll have to pick up on this tomorrow. Tonight I wanna get the pickup baffle, pan on, maybe the oil cooler, maybe the oil pump, as much as we kinda can. I'm still missing the timing belt tensioner bracket. I'm waiting on that from Subaru, but we can get everything kinda on the bottom of the block and on the top. We just can't do anything on the front, can't time it or anything yet without that bracket. So, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get right into this. I got the Killer Bee pan and pickup here. We're gonna slap that onto the bottom. I got a brand new OEM oil cooler. Slap that on, IAG oil pump. And yeah, that should probably wrap up the amount of time here before we gotta hit the gym tonight, so. So I'm pretty sure these IAG oil pumps come ready to go from factory, but what I want to do is prime it. That way when we start turning the car over, we get oil where it needs to be a little bit quicker. This is the inlet right here. We're going to dump some oil in here. You're going to pretend the crank is spinning this guy here, and we're just going to spin that. It's going to be counterclockwise from this way because the crank spins clockwise. So, if you're looking at it from the front, it's going to be clockwise. From back here, it's going to be counterclockwise. And what that's going to do, it's going to bring the oil in. And then you're just going to keep kind of filling it up with oil until it starts bubbling out of this hole here. And then once that gets full and it's bubbling, you should be good to go. And we can slap this guy onto the block. We're going to be running the 2050 VR1 racing oil in the car. So I'm going to prime the pump with this stuff. I'm not sure if I'm going to run a break-in oil or run this right off the bat. I'm going to talk to Bader, see what he thinks. So you're going to see, as you keep priming this, obviously you're going to start pulling oil from here. It's going to go up and around, and it's going to come down here. So once both are full and this is kind of bubbling up, that's when you know you're good to go.
Pinky promise you, Kookie.
So I tried to do that pretty quick so all the oil we primed out wouldn't all come out, but got stuck on the dowel and it started dripping oil. So hopefully it'll be all right. It's not leaking now, so I think we'll be good. I'm gonna get those torqued down. I gotta look up what the torque specs are, and we'll get them torqued what they have to be. Flip it over, we'll put the pan on, and that way the oil isn't just leaking all over the floor that we just primed into the oil pump. I think before I throw the oil pan on, I'm gonna get the cooler on real quick because I think it'll be easier to do that now than after the pan's already kind of in there and in the way. I'm also just realizing I don't think I have a 1/2-inch NPT plug for the bottom of this pan, which kind of sucks. It means I have to order one up and it might be a few days. So kind of a bummer there, especially if we get this thing back together. But either way, I don't really have to put oil in the car until everything's ready to go and ready to fire up. So not the end of the world there. Let's get the oil cooler taken off the old block, and then we'll pull everything off of it, slap the new one on the new block, and then put it all back together. just like that, we got our pan, pickup, baffle, oil cooler, all mounted up and ready to go. So I'm gonna flip this block back over. We're gonna get our coolant crossover pipe on, which is that little guy sitting down in that mess. So yeah, we're gonna get that mounted up. I got 2 new O-rings for where that mounts to the block. And then we're probably gonna call it a night there. I gotta still eat dinner, hit the gym tonight. And it's also something like 10 degrees in here. So I've been cold, but we're making it work. This is what we got. At least we're in the garage and not outside in the snow. So I know it's probably not ideal to be building like a race car engine in this climate, but it's what we got, and I really have no other choice. So we're getting it done. All right, so we got the coolant crossover on. I went ahead and kind of just started pulling the plugs out of the old block because this one was pretty much bare. So yeah, I just pulled all these out and slapped them in here. Same with like some of the bolts that I just had chilling in there, so I don't lose them. I just throw them in the block. Got those transferred onto here. Got the crank sensor on. I also noticed with these plugs, the old washers that were on here had a little bit of RTV on them. So I pulled these plugs back out, put a little bit of RTV on the threads, and threaded them back in just to be sure. I'm gonna head to the gym and then I'll pick up with this video tomorrow. All right, we're back in the garage. I just got back from O'Reilly's. We picked up one of these little 1/2-inch NPT plugs for the other hole in the oil pan, and then some exhaust manifold gaskets because I spaced on those as well. As much as I'd love a set of new Grimspeeds or something, these will hold us over for now just fine. So we're gonna keep plugging away, just adding stuff to this block as we go. We can get this little sensor guy in here. I have TGV gaskets now, so we can get the intake manifold on. Maybe mount up some of the new fuel system on there. I'm not really sure yet. I might wait until we do the whole fuel system. We might be able to get the water pump in. I'm not really sure because that timing belt tensioner bracket sits somewhere in here. And I gotta get that in maybe first before the water pump. I'm not 100%. So I'm just gonna slap the camera on the tripod and just keep plugging away at this thing. Some of the stuff that we took off the block, we won't have to put back on. For example, like the fuel system, or maybe some other stuff that we're just deleting out of it. Also, the rotated kit kinda rearranges things a little bit. But let's get the camera slapped on the tripod and let's go to town, baby. Holy smokes, that looks sick. I wasn't going to slap the exhaust manifold on yet, but it's been sitting in a box in my room for literal year or so, and I couldn't resist myself any longer. So we got that thing slapped on. Pretty much the whole bottom of the engine is all together, minus a few little things here and there. We're going to flip it back over, work on the top a little bit. Maybe we can get some of the front stuff on. Like I said, we're still waiting on a few parts, but yeah, that looks freaking sick. Super stoked on how that all turned out. We're just going to keep plugging along and see how far we can get. We have to strip this intake manifold pretty much all the way down to just the throttle body, the manifold, and the TGV deletes. That's pretty much it. Inlet's going to come off. The whole stock fuel system's going to come off. Actually, we're going to keep the wiring harness on, but everything else is coming off. And then we can probably get this thing sat up on the block. We can switch out our map sensor. We have an AM 5 bar for this guy. And maybe start working on fuel. I'm not really too sure yet. But for now, let's get the camera on the tripod and we'll strip her down. Okay, so I just kind of have the intake manifold sitting on here. It's not really bolted down at all. I still have to tighten up this coolant crossover. The last thing we really have to do is run like the hard coolant lines from like here to wherever it goes down here. There's one on this side. There's some on the back. There's one that goes kind of straight back this way, I believe. Let's pull the intake manifold back off. We'll tighten down this coolant crossover, run them hard lines. I got some new crush washers. And then we can slap this guy back on. I'm not sure why I was thinking these were coolant lines. These are oil lines for the AVCS solenoids up top. Alright, so the only lines we really have left is the turbo feed oil and the coolant. So I don't know with the new rotated kit if we are replacing those or not, so I'm going to leave them off for now. But either way, the oil drain is there and the coolant bolts on here. So yeah, if we have to throw them on, it's easy access. We got all these AVCS oil lines bolted up. The coolant crossover is now bolted tight. Intake manifold still just sitting here. The last thing we can really do tonight before we get too ahead of ourselves is throw on the new map sensor. So this one's just going to unscrew. We have a little IAG adapter, and then the 5 bar will screw right into that. This is the little adapter from IAG. So the stock map will come out. We'll screw this guy in, and then you can see the threads on top. We'll screw the AEM 5 bar on top, and then the little harness, so it's completely plug and play with your stock wiring. Just like that, we got the little adapter on there, our AM 5 bar, and then this will plug directly into our stock harness. So that was super easy. Now, obviously, like if I really wanted to get ahead, I could start connecting all the wires and getting all that set. But before I get too far ahead, I want to make sure we can get the front all together and dial her all in. It's like 1:30 in the morning right now, so I am can't even talk. I'm extremely exhausted. They switched me over to night shift with a 1-day notice, or less than a day, so trying to get switched over. That's why I was able to spend so much time in the garage tonight, so it kind of worked out. But I'm going to try to get some sleep in a few hours here. But yeah, this is about as far as we can get for the night. Hopefully tomorrow I can run to Subaru and our parts will be here. And I need those gaskets for the AVCS solenoids, and then we can get this thing buttoned up. Probably going to wrap up this video right here. I think it's going to be pretty decent length, so hope you guys enjoyed. I will catch you guys in the next one, hopefully in the next couple days, and we can get this thing in the car. Until then, peace out. See y'all later. One last thing, I did order one of these like crush washer kits because I didn't know exactly what size these crush washers were, so just sent the whole thing. But it turns out they are M12 by 16 by 1. Or at least that's what I've been using, and they seem to work just fine. So if you're curious about the size on the crush washers for all the hard lines, there you go.